Hey, I'm Christian with Forest of Art and Healing Arts and Yoga Bear Box. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 steps to safe and effective stretching. First, you're going to set up the position that you want to get into. It could be a yoga position, a stretch position. I'm calling this step 0. Set up a stretch position. This could be a position you've seen on Instagram or in a book, or you were taught it in class. An important point here is that if you can't get into the position at all, then it's not the right one for you. You're not going to be able to safely stretch in it. So you should break up this position into doable components. So once you find the position you can get into, then you start the 3 steps. The first step is to let go of unnecessary muscle tension. So before you try to stretch, let go of what's inhibiting the stretch, which is muscle tension. Now, the muscles are controlled by the brain. The brain tells the muscles to contract, and also by reflexes, certain reflexes. So, this is a conscious step. You're consciously going to let go of the muscles around the joint that you're trying to stretch. If you can't do that at all, if you're not letting go, then you're going to need some props. And this is where you bring in your blocks, your bolsters, straps, a chair, whatever it is you need to make this a doable position that you can let go into. Once you've let go, then you go to the second step, which is to stretch. And what is it you're stretching? You're stretching your fascia, you're stretching your connective tissue. The muscle fibers let go. That's not what's stretching. It's the fascia that's stretching, which is around the muscle fibers and the joints and everything. Now, fascia is viscoelastic, which means that the slower you stretch it and the longer you wait for it to stretch, the more it's going to stretch. So if you try to do it really quickly, it's not going to stretch. And in fact, if you try to force it, you'll tear fascial fibers. So that's step number 2. Wait for the connective tissue to stretch. This step is in the tissue. This is dependent upon the tissue. If you're doing a lot of gripping, then the tissue is not going to stretch. So you go back to step number 1. So step number 2 is dependent upon step number 1 being successful to some degree. Once you feel that the fascia is stretching, then you can reach the moving body part further into the position. So say you're moving your knee back into a position behind you, or your knee in a lunge forward, or your pelvis down towards the ground. Once you've let go, and then the fascia is stretched, then you move the body part. You reach with that body part into the position that the yoga pose or whatever you're doing is asking for. Now, when you get further into the position, you may find that once again your body will almost reflexively begin to tighten again. So go back to step number 1, from the brain, consciously let go. Then step number 2, wait for the connective tissue to stretch, take your time. And then stretch number 3, reach further into it. Notice that this is not something that is based upon reaching that position. It's not based upon looking good or being Instagram ready or anything like that. This is based upon the tissue, upon the health and safety of your tissue. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how to apply this. So I'm going to show you how to apply this to a quadricep stretch. I'll turn to the side, use the wall as a support, because if I didn't, then I'd have to balance on one leg, which is fine, but it's a different type of position. And in yoga, there are different things that you're doing. Some of it is strength, some of it is balance. But in this case, what I'm going for is stretch. So I want to reach down, grab my foot, and stretch my quadricep. Now, the first thing that I notice is that my knee is out to the side. And I'm even having a hard time holding this because I'm tight right now in this hip and quadricep. Now, I could try to force the knee down, and that's one way of doing it. But instead, I'm going to do step number 1. I'm going to, with my mind, bring my mind down into this hip and knee and ask myself, where am I holding tension? Now, I can already tell you right now where I'm holding tension. I'm holding tension in my gluteus medius, which is what's bringing my knee out to the side. So let's see if instead of forcing my knee in, if I can let go of tension in the gluteus medius Okay, I just let go of tension in the gluteus maximus. And now I'm working on the gluteus medius. It's not a simple thing. It like goes in and out. There's things in there that are saying, hey, I'm supposed to be tight. So it's a brain thing, and I could stay here for a while and work on this. In fact, this might be the whole 5 minutes of the stretch for me, is to work on letting go of that gluteus medius, letting go of the rotators, and then also letting go of the quadriceps themselves. Once I can let go, then I'm going to wait for the connective tissue to stretch. And that's the connective tissue around the quadricep and around the hip. And as I'm waiting, one thing that happens is that the knee will fall towards the ground. It will be easier for me to hold my foot up. And if it's hard on your hand, you can use a strap. We have another video where we show you how to use a strap to do this. And now, I could wait here for a long time. I'm going to speed it up for the sake of the video, but I might wait here a couple of minutes for this to let go. Once it's let go, then I'll reach the moving body part further into the position. So I'll exaggerate a little bit. Yeah. Now, as I did that, that kind of hurt a little bit on my quadricep because it wasn't ready for that much movement. But to show you on the video, that's what I would do. I would then move that back. So let's move it just a little bit back. And now I find a new layer of muscle tension. So I'm going to let go of that. I'm going to work on letting go. And that's in my vastus lateralis underneath my IT band. I'm going to try to yes, okay. Try to let go of that, and that allows my knee to come down further. Now I'm going to wait for the connective tissue to stretch. So I could sit here another minute or so, but I'll speed it up for the video. And then I'll reach the knee even further back and pull the heel towards my body a little bit more. And I will continue repeating these 3 steps, letting go of the muscle tension, waiting for the connective tissue to stretch, and reaching the moving body part further into the position. Now, when you do something like this, one of the things that's going to happen is that the fascia will stretch so much that it'll be semi-permanently changed, which is to say that when you're done with this, you're going to feel different in your body. And I know some of you, after a yoga session, you leave the yoga studio and you think, whoa, I've got a different body here. And that's what's really cool about this, about waiting for the fascia to stretch. You will literally change your body doing it. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this with a lunge now. So for a lunge, I'm going to need some props. I have my yoga mat, obviously. I'm going to use 2 blocks, which I can also regulate the height of them by lowering them down. We have 3 heights to the yoga blocks. And because my floor is pretty hard, and also for whatever reason, my knee doesn't like to be straight on the ground. So I'm going to use an extra little pad here. Now, I know that some people, some yogis, some people in different practices of exercise say, hey, you should toughen up, or you should be able to do that, or put your knee there, or we do this on the concrete outside in the snow, or whatever. When my purpose is to stretch and not necessarily to toughen up, I like to have anything that will allow me to do the stretch without inhibition. So if my knee is hurting, I'm going to be tightening up and not be able to stretch as well. So use your props to get the stretch safely and as effectively as possible. So I will set up now into a lunge. I'm going to put this knee on the pad, bring the other foot forward. Now I will, step 0, go into the position, lunge. Before I try to drop further into the lunge, I'm going to let go. What am I going to let go of? Well, between this complex of my hamstring here, my psoas across here, my quadricep here, and other muscles and connective tissue in my hip, I want to let go of all of that. So from my brain, I'm going to let go of the muscles that are holding my hip. So let's see if I can go in here. Okay, floor of the pelvis is being held a bit. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to let it spread sideways. So that's the perineum muscles, letting that go. Good. Okay, as I let go, I dropped further into the position. Now I can feel that my psoas on this side and the front of my leg's a bit tight, so I'm going to let that go. Use your breathing. And as I let go, I drop further into my lunge. Maybe I can even walk my foot forward a little bit. Now I'm ready to do step number 2, which is waiting for the connective tissue to stretch. Now, for different people, it's going to be in different places and also at different times in your life. So at this moment right now, what is stretching the most is in the front here. So I'm just going to meditate on that and feel that stretch and wait for it to melt. I could sit here for a couple of minutes. For the sake of the video, I'll speed it up. Once that melts, then I can reach further forward. And there's at least 3 directions I can reach on. One direction is that I can bring this front knee forward, so I can push that front knee forward a bit. Another direction is that I can push my pelvis towards the ground. And another direction is that I can lengthen my back and lengthen up the back of my neck. So what if I did all 3 of those at the same time? Just a slight movement. You can't barely even see it on the camera, but that brings me to a new level of tension. So I'm back to step number 1, breathe and let go of your muscles. See how that dropped me even further into the pose without even pushing into it. It's an allowing instead of a forcing. Maybe I'll do 4 or 5 more breaths, and then I will wait for the connective tissue. It's still in that same place, that back leg. So as I sit here and wait for the tissue to let go, I feel it tickling, burning. Not pain though, so you never want to stretch into pain, but that burning is good on the fascia. Now I can reach once more, reach the body part further, bringing the knee forward, bringing the pelvis down, lifting my back. And then I repeat that 1, 2, 3, over and over and over, as long as I want to be working on this particular pose. And that's how you do these 3 steps for safe and effective stretching.